My name is Sam, and I'm 26 years old, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my cancer journey and my story today. So to start with, can you guys cast your minds back to when you were 16 years old? I think life's pretty good when you're 16. I know it was for me. Suddenly, you're not a kid anymore, and you start to feel independent, and you're making your own decisions. I was at college, and I was studying, for my A-levels, I was studying law, media, history, and PE. It felt good to be studying subjects that I was genuinely interested in, and in an environment where you were treated like a grown-up, very different to school. I was also a keen football referee, at a very high standard, with dreams of turning it into a career one day. I was confident, I was fit, and it says strong, but I don't remember that, but quite strong. I felt invincible, and I was ready for anything. Well, anything except cancer. In May 2010, after feeling unwell for a few weeks, I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's just not something you expect to hear when you're 16 years old. From the moment of diagnosis, my life changed completely. I was told I would need 6 months intensive chemotherapy, 3 weeks cranial radiotherapy, and 18 months maintenance chemotherapy. This was going to be a very long journey to recovery. My normal life consisted of spending most of my time in hospital, having treatment, or at home on the sofa recovering. I was unable to go to college. I was too ill to study, and I really did not want to study in hospital. For now, I have put my A-levels on hold. My friends visited initially, but as the weeks turned into months, their lives moved on, but mine just didn't. My parents were with me every step of the way, constantly by my side, throughout treatment and numerous procedures that I had to go through, including a bone marrow aspiration, a wake, which is a very painful experience, central lines, lumbar punctures, you name it, I've tried it. To be honest, the only way to describe it was hell. The treatment was brutal, and I had all the side effects that was expected. I lost my hair, I put on a ridiculous amount of weight, I was Mr. Blobby. At times I couldn't walk or even sit up on my own, and after numerous admissions to hospital for infections, my body was just unable to cope. The days were really bad, but on the good days, as a family, we tried to make the best of it. It was hard, because my little sister was just only 9 years old, and my other sister was in her first year of university. By January 2011, the worst was over. I had got through the worst and most terrifying experience of my life, and I think would be for anyone. I was starting maintenance treatment, which meant I could go back to college part-time and get my life back on track. Hope is such an important emotion when going through cancer. Once you recover from the shock of diagnosis, hope steps in to give you the strength and optimism to get to the next stage. Within a month of maintenance, all the hope I had for the future, for my recovery, was cruelly snatched away from me when I relapsed. Relapse is devastating. It basically takes you right back to where you started, only this time it's worse, much worse. All the hope that my family had, which was keeping us going, suddenly disappeared. The doctors didn't seem so confident this time, and the conversations with them were very scary. My parents were broken and trying to put a brave face on it, but it was really, really difficult for everyone. My options now were extremely limited. I needed a bone marrow transplant, but only if I could get into remission. Luckily for me, following more months of intensive chemotherapy, which was even harsher and pushed me even further than before, I got into remission. I said I got into remission, guys. That'll do. My parents moved into hospital with me, and my sister deferred her second year of university so she could come back home and look after my little sister. On my 18th birthday, I began preparation for my stem cell transplant. I had more chemotherapy and total body irradiation. For a week, they did everything they could to remove my immune system, and then I was ready. The transplant went well. After a further 2 months in hospital and isolation, which is really, really depressing, I eventually went home. Recovery from a transplant takes months. It is a very, very slow process. The transplant, however, has saved my life, which is amazing, and I'm very, very lucky, but cancer has left its mark. I am now anemic, infertile, my kidneys are permanently damaged, and I have a vascular necrosis in pretty much all of my joints. I had a hip replacement in 2012, something that you do not expect when you're 16. I need a shoulder replacement on this side, and they say they would replace it tomorrow, but I'm too young, so I have to wait until I'm 40 years old, which is quite a way off. And I have treatment every 2 weeks at Guy's Hospital for my bones and kidneys to keep them going and stop little blood clots that occur in them. Despite these complications and the ridiculous amount of hospital appointments, I now had time and I managed to get back to college and eventually pass my A-levels. I was unable to continue to do PE, so I changed to politics. During my treatment, I watched a lot of daytime TV. This broadened my knowledge and interest of politics, as well as Formula One. Sadly, you can't do an A-level in Formula One, but I wish you could. Mobility was a big issue for me. In the first few years, I was lucky to have an electric wheelchair given to me, so I could get around college, and I could arrive on the fun bus, just in front of everybody going in. A little bit embarrassing. Law and politics became my passion, and I was thrilled to be accepted into the University of Surrey to study law. My electric wheeler was changed to a mobility scooter, a very manly one, and this helped me enormously get around campus. I lived on campus for the first year, but really struggled with the commute. So in the second and third year, I lived at home, and my mum started working at uni, which was brilliant. Thankfully, I had chosen the university close to my house. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I got involved with a local charity, which funded research into paediatric cancers. This ignited my interest in charity and led me to be a volunteer at Teenage Cancer Trust for a day a week in the head office whilst I was going through university. I also became a committee member for a charity called the Emily Ash Trust. It's a local charity based at the Marsden, and it helped me and my family while I was going through treatment. In 2012, they sent us to Disneyland, which is obviously the best choice for a wish, unless you've watched Fault in Our Stars, which they say it's not the best wish. My role is varied when I was the office volunteer, and I have a special emphasis on teenage and young adults at the Emily Ash Trust, so that is my focus with them. In 2017, I graduated with a 2:1 in law. This was a very special and happy day for my family, as you can imagine. It took me a lot longer than it should have done, but we got there. I then faced the decision of what to do next with my life. Originally, I saw my career in law, but I didn't feel a burning desire anymore and was ready for a break from studying. I was offered an internship at a local hospice in London as a fundraiser, which I took and thoroughly enjoyed. I learned so much in a short space of time, and I had a strong desire to go back to cancer care. 5 months later, into my first job, I managed to secure a job at Teenage Cancer Trust. As Kay said, I am now the Volunteer Development Officer at Teenage Cancer Trust. I've been in this role for over a year now, and I absolutely love it. I'm currently on a management program and trying to build a career in something I feel passionate about. I really enjoyed law, but this is definitely the path for me. As I said earlier, the day I was diagnosed with cancer changed my life forever. Physically, I'm not the person I was, and I feel or the person I was meant to be. I used to be a long-distance runner, played football as often as I could, and I loved refereeing. When I had my hip replaced and discovered the extent of my bone problems, I was told I would never, ever referee again. I'm so happy to tell you that a couple of weeks ago, I refereed my first football match in 10 years. It was an absolutely brilliant day. The next day, not quite so good, but it was worth it. My family were there to support me, and it was such a brilliant experience. I'm hoping to continue with my refereeing, but I'm not going to lie to you, it's very tough. It took me a couple of weeks to recover from one match. Cancer definitely changed my career plan. Once I saw myself pursuing a career in law, and perhaps one day I'll return to it. But for now, I have a deep-rooted need to continue working for this charity. I know more than most that life can be cruelly short. One of the hardest realities of my story is that I've lost so many friends and people who I've met along my cancer journey. It is shocking and heartbreaking how many young people and children don't make it. I've been to way too many funerals for a 26-year-old. This has given me a different perspective and enabled me to have the courage to pursue a different career confidently and without apologizing for it. Yes, I have a degree in law, and yes, I chose to work for a charity. Deal with it. So what have I learned? Firstly, most importantly, the past 10 years have taught me the importance of family. I was very lucky, even before I got cancer, because I have a very close family. But the support of my parents and my two sisters has definitely been the most important thing in my life. As well as the physical scars, inevitably, there are mental scars too. I have suffered with anxiety since finishing treatment, and again, it's my family who are always there for me to help me overcome it. The teenage years that cancer stole from me are really important years, and it's really taken its toll on me. My sister selflessly gave up her degree to look after my little sister for a year, so that my parents could look after me through my most traumatic period. This also ensured that my younger sister's life was not interrupted, and she was able to be as normal as possible. That's quite an amazing thing to do for your brother. I can't really ever thank them enough for that. She went back to university, by the way, and she graduated with a first in PE, and she's now a school teacher. The bond in our family unit is now unbreakable, and I treasure them more than anything else in this world. Sadly, I've also learned that sometimes friends and family can leave you feeling let down. Cancer is not a quick thing, and it doesn't go away in a hurry, which can become hard for people to cope with. This is not an unusual scenario, as other people who have been through it will confirm. However, the amazing thing about this is the extraordinary kindness that people show to you. Sometimes strangers will really astound you. I've met so many people on my journey and made friends I might otherwise not have done. This is also true for my parents, who felt let down at times by people they thought they could rely on, but were overwhelmed by the generosity, kindness, and understanding of so many strangers. They were both supported well at work, which took a huge pressure away and made a huge difference to the whole trauma in our lives. Mostly, I've learned that life doesn't always go to plan. I've lost a lot, but I've also gained a lot too. Also, it's a cliche, but there's always someone worse off than you. I now live life to the fullest, as Tracy will confirm, making the most of every day, living in the moment, and trying not to sweat the small stuff. I take care of myself and treasure my family. Thank you for listening.